Now today we're going to talk about a serious subject, one that can affect millions of Americans.
Epilepsy affects Americans of all ages, more than multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, and Parkinson's disease, all combined.
And that's why our partners at Spectrum Health Medical Group are having an online chat very soon to answer your questions about epilepsy and, of course, to give you information about medications that can help.
Dr. Brian Smith is an epileptologist and chief of neurology at the medical group. Why don't you start by just kind of refreshing us about epilepsy and what it is?
Well, epilepsy is a disorder where someone develops recurrent seizures. So one seizure in one's lifetime doesn't mean epilepsy. But someone who has recurrent seizures, that's where the diagnosis of epilepsy comes in. There can be lots of causes for it. I mean, you can be born with a condition because there are forms that are genetically inherited, but you can also acquire it. Head trauma, stroke, tumor, infection like meningitis or encephalitis. There's a number of causes that for you to develop epilepsy. If we look at epilepsy as a short circuit of the brain, and the brain is an organ, it can get damaged just like any other organ can. And for some reason, whatever happens makes that network of electrical activity in the brain imbalanced, which means it's going to fire when it's not supposed to.
So can you diagnose that using like an EEG or something like that?
Yeah, a lot of patients who present with the history itself leads to diagnosis in most cases, but the EEG is really more of a confirmatory. You don't expect to see certain things on a brainwave test, and when you see these abnormal discharges, that confirms it. A little bit of caution though, because one EEG being normal doesn't rule it out by any means.
Okay.
That EEGs are like buying lotto tickets. If you only buy a couple, you're not going to win. Same thing if you only record a brainwave for 30 minutes, you may not see those abnormal discharges.
Are a lot of people surprised to hear how common? We talked about a lot of those diseases that a lot of people know about. And then to say that, combine them all together, that's about how many people are affected by epilepsy. Amazing.
Yes. Unfortunately, epilepsy's carried some stigma over the years because, I mean, even if you go back into pre-biblical times, there were, we've known about this condition, and for a while it was thought to be due to, being possessed by evil spirits, and then there were issues that was, other explanations, and people didn't realize it was a problem coming from the brain. And so that stigma has kind of stuck in society for a while. We've made big inroads into that, but it doesn't get talked about like a lot of the other common illnesses.
Is it a lot of that because a person can seem well functioning for so much of the time and then have these episodes?
Right. Think about it. I mean, if someone has one seizure a month, they've gone pretty much 29 days and 23 plus hours without a problem, and then there's that 2 to 3 minute seizure, and the ramifications from that are significant though, the driving restrictions and other issues. So even though it's a very small percentage of time, it has major impact.
Okay, so you're the expert. What can be done about this? I mean, can it be controlled? Does a person ever heal from having epilepsy?
Well, right now, if you look over the 3 million people who have epilepsy in the United States, we would expect about 2/3 to be controlled with medications.
Okay.
Whether that's one medication or 2 medications, the goal is to make someone seizure-free without a lot of side effects. I mean, I can make a lot of patients seizure-free and put them on so much medication, they'll sleep 23 hours a day, and that's not a quality of life.
Right.
So we really want a quality of life. The other third, unfortunately, once they fail at least 2 medications, then they may have to look at another avenue, like potentially epilepsy surgery or some of the other treatment options. People can be cured in the sense, for example, surgery can remove that area of the brain that causes seizures, or the medication is just effective that even though you haven't removed the area, you've controlled it where it's really not an active problem, and you can be seizure-free for many years that way.
So many, we've just barely scratched the surface here, so many questions, so many promising pieces of information. You're having an online chat coming up on Monday.
Correct, yes. And hopefully, I'm sure there will be people coming on board who have other questions that we can help them out and kind of direct them for appropriate care if they face some of the challenges.
Yeah, I could think there could be a lot of questions of people like, I'm dealing with this situation, or people that say, gosh, this could be what we've been experiencing and we never have known it. So,
Right.
Okay.
Unfortunately, a lot of people think seizures just are like, we've all heard the term grand mal seizure or major convulsion, but seizures come in all sizes and shapes, and you'd be amazed at how subtle they can be, and things we're considering have to be something else are actually end up being epileptic seizures.
We so appreciate your being here with us today, Dr. Smith. We really hope that people who have questions will join that online chat, because it is a great starting point for information.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.